The United States boasts a long and storied history, filled with moments of triumph and progress. Sadly, woven into this narrative is a dark thread of political violence, a recurring theme that has left an indelible mark on the nation's psyche. From its very beginnings, the nation grappled with passionate divisions, ideological battles that often turned brother against brother. These divisions sometimes erupted into acts of aggression against its leaders, acts that would forever alter the course of history. The presidency, a symbol of power and unity, became a target for those who sought to disrupt the nation's stability. This essay delves into the history of attacks on US presidents and presidential candidates, exploring the motives and consequences of these violent acts. It examines the impact of these events on American history and politics, shedding light on how they have shaped the nation's trajectory. The assassination of a president is a deeply unsettling event, one that sends shockwaves through the fabric of society. It is a stark reminder of the fragility of democracy, highlighting the ever-present threats that can undermine its foundations. It also underscores the constant presence of extremism and violence within society, forces that can erupt with devastating consequences. These acts often have far-reaching consequences, affecting not just the immediate political landscape, but also the social fabric of the nation. They can lead to political instability, social unrest, and a loss of public trust, creating a ripple effect that can last for generations. Understanding the motivations behind these attacks is crucial, as it provides insight into the underlying issues that drive such violence. It helps us to better protect our leaders and preserve the integrity of our political system, ensuring that such tragedies are less likely to occur in the future. From Abraham Lincoln to Donald Trump, numerous presidents have faced threats, each instance reflecting the tensions and conflicts of their respective eras. Some have even lost their lives to assassins, their deaths serving as grim reminders of the dangers inherent in leadership. Each attack offers a unique insight into the political climate of its time, revealing the fears, frustrations, and fervor that drive individuals to such extremes. They also reveal the evolving nature of threats to American leaders as new challenges and dangers emerge with each passing era. By studying these events, we can learn from the past and work towards a safer future, implementing measures that protect our leaders and uphold the principles of democracy. It is our duty to ensure that the peaceful transfer of power, a cornerstone of American democracy, remains intact, free from the shadow of violence. The assassination attempts on US presidents serve as grim reminders, stark warnings of the potential for violence that lurks beneath the surface of political life. They remind us of the importance of vigilance, dialogue, and unity in a democratic society, values that are essential for the preservation of peace and stability. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, led the nation through its bloodiest conflict, the Civil War. His leadership and vision were instrumental in guiding the country through this tumultuous period. He successfully preserved the Union during the Civil War, a feat that required immense courage, strategic acumen, and an unwavering belief in the principles of democracy and unity. Tragically, his life was cut short by an assassin's bullet just days after the war's end, a cruel twist of fate that robbed the nation of its guiding light at a critical juncture. On April 14, 1865, while attending a play at Ford's Theatre in Washington, D.C., Lincoln was shot by John Wilkes Booth, a well-known actor and fervent supporter of the Confederate cause. Booth, a famous actor and Confederate sympathizer, sought to avenge the South's defeat, believing that by killing Lincoln, he could reignite the Confederate cause and alter the course of history. Lincoln's assassination sent shockwaves through a nation still reeling from the Civil War. The news of his death spread rapidly, plunging the country into deep mourning and uncertainty. The assassination had a profound impact on the country's future, creating a leadership vacuum at a time when the nation desperately needed stability and direction. It left a void in leadership during a pivotal period of Reconstruction, a time when the country was attempting to rebuild and heal from the wounds of war. Lincoln's death also altered the course of Reconstruction. His vision for a lenient and unifying approach to the defeated South was largely abandoned in favor of more punitive measures. His plans for a lenient and unifying approach to the defeated South were largely abandoned, leading to a harsher and more divisive Reconstruction era. In his place rose a more punitive approach which exacerbated tensions between the North and South, deepening the divisions that had already torn the country apart. The nation mourned the loss of its leader, with countless citizens paying their respects during his funeral procession, a somber event that underscored the profound sense of loss felt across the country. Lincoln's assassination became a defining moment in American history, a tragic event that highlighted the deep-seated conflicts and divisions within the nation. It served as a stark reminder of the deep divisions that existed within the country, divisions that would continue to shape the nation's history for years to come. It highlighted the fragility of peace and the ever-present threat of political violence, a sobering lesson that remains relevant to this day. Lincoln's legacy, however, lived on. His vision for a united and free nation continued to inspire future generations, and his contributions to American society were celebrated and remembered. He is remembered as one of the nation's greatest presidents, a leader whose wisdom, compassion, and dedication to justice left an indelible mark on the fabric of American history. He is celebrated for his leadership during a time of crisis, his eloquence, and his unwavering commitment to the ideals of liberty and equality. His speeches, such as the Gettysburg Address, continue to resonate as powerful expressions of American values and aspirations. Through his words and actions, Lincoln helped to define what it means to be American, and his legacy continues to guide the nation as it strives to live up to the ideals he so eloquently championed. Today, Lincoln's influence can be seen in the ongoing efforts to promote equality, justice, and unity, as leaders and citizens alike draw inspiration from his example. Monuments and memorials dedicated to Lincoln stand as testaments to his enduring legacy, reminding us of the profound impact he had on the nation and the world. As we reflect on Lincoln's contributions, we are reminded of the power of leadership, the importance of resilience, and the enduring strength of the American spirit. The late 19th century witnessed two more presidential assassinations, which left an indelible mark on the American psyche. These tragedies further shook the nation and fueled concerns about political violence, creating a sense of vulnerability and fear among the populace. In 1881, James A. Garfield, the 20th president, was shot by a disgruntled office seeker named Charles Guiteau. Guiteau, who had been denied a government job, believed that assassinating the president would somehow benefit the nation and himself. Garfield succumbed to his wounds after 2 months of suffering, becoming the second US president to be assassinated. His prolonged agony and eventual death were widely covered in the press, drawing national attention to the fragility of the nation's leadership. His death highlighted the dangers of political patronage and the urgent need for civil service reform. The assassination acted as a catalyst for the Pendleton Civil Service Reform Act, which aimed to curb the corrupt practice of awarding government jobs based on political connections rather than merit. Just 20 years later, in 1901, President William McKinley, the 25th president, was shot by Leon Czolgosz, an anarchist who opposed government authority. Czolgosz's radical beliefs and his act of violence were a stark reminder of the growing tensions and ideological divides within the country. McKinley died a week later from gangrene caused by the bullet wounds. His death, much like Garfield's, plunged the nation into mourning and raised serious questions about the safety of its leaders. His assassination led to increased security measures for presidents and spurred a crackdown on anarchist groups. The Secret Service, which had been primarily focused on combating counterfeit currency, began to take on a more prominent role in protecting the president. These assassinations, occurring within a short span of time, cast a pall over the nation. The collective grief and shock were palpable, as citizens grappled with the loss of their leaders and the implications for the future. They raised questions about the vulnerability of its leaders and the adequacy of security measures. The public and lawmakers alike debated how best to protect the president while ensuring that the office remained accessible to the people. The deaths of Garfield and McKinley led to calls for reforms to address the root causes of political violence. Activists and politicians pushed for changes that would reduce the likelihood of such tragedies occurring again. They also prompted a national conversation about the balance between protecting the president and maintaining the accessibility of the office. This debate continues to resonate today as the nation strives to safeguard its leaders while upholding democratic principles. The 20th century continued to witness attempts on the lives of US presidents. One of the most well-known incidents involved Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th president. In 1912, while campaigning for a third term, Roosevelt was shot in the chest by saloon-keeper John Schrank. Remarkably, the bullet was slowed by a thick speech manuscript and an eyeglass case in Roosevelt's pocket. Roosevelt, known for his toughness, insisted on delivering his speech with the bullet still lodged in his chest. He famously declared, "It takes more than that to kill a bull moose." Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd president, also faced an assassination attempt in 1933. While still president-elect, Roosevelt was in Miami, Florida, when Giuseppe Zangara, an Italian immigrant with anarchist leanings, fired shots at him. Zangara missed Roosevelt but fatally wounded Chicago Mayor Anton Cermak, who was standing beside him. This incident highlighted the unpredictable nature of these attacks and the potential for unintended victims. These attempts on Roosevelt and FDR underscored the persistent threat of political violence. They also demonstrated the courage and resilience of these leaders in the face of danger.